football season are in the books. Now is like the time of the year where people start getting really dug in on some of those takes as we start to find out more about who these teams are. And we said that week 3 would be a very educational week, and I think it was just that. This is College Football Tailgate. It's our week 3 recap and reaction show. I'm Dan Watkins. John McKechnie is here as well. John, how are you, buddy? I mean, how's the heart rate after that Georgia game the other day?
I think it's finally back down to the resting heart rate, but like that number might still just stay elevated for a little bit here. And there is a bye week for Georgia this week, but there's that creeping, lingering remembrance, because we've been doing this for about 2 months now. Circled September 27th as like the big Saturday of the fall, or at least of September. That's when Georgia and Alabama play each other, and boy, that's like. I'm pre-stressed about that, but boy, that Tennessee game, I mean, that was just an instant classic of a game. I really, I know it can sound kind of corny to be on the winning side and be like, oh, great effort from Tennessee, but like truly, like Tennessee was absolutely taking it to Georgia, especially in the early goings. I mean, those Heupel deep shots that he loves to draw up, those were landing kind of in a way that really hadn't for Tennessee. Like Tennessee would always try those out, with Hendon Hooker or Joe Milton,
right,
or Nico, but they never really landed. So like there wasn't really too many games here in recent memory, especially since Heupel took over, where it's like, okay, the Tennessee offense looks like the Tennessee offense against Georgia. They looked great. I thought, and I think talent-wise, they certainly have the Jimmies and Joes that are like right up there with they did make the playoff last year. They had the most weak sauce playoff performance out of arguably anybody last year, but
yeah,
this is a good team, and I think they really believe in Joey Aguilar, and I feel bad for their kicker and everything like that, but this is a really good Tennessee team. We'll get to our SEC power rankings in a bit, but everything that the Vols were talking about going into the game, like how loud the stadium was going to be and all that, like all of that was true. Like it was
electric.
a crazy environment, but the problem is Georgia's kind of like the boogeyman now. Like they were getting it taken to them, but they kept hanging around, and ultimately they found a way to win. I mean, that Gunnar Stockton throw on 4th down to London Humphreys, who not only earlier in this game, but like earlier this season, just he drops the easy stuff like way too often. And for him to kind of redeem himself, and for Stockton to kind of like announce with real emphatic authority, like, here I am, like I'm the guy at Georgia now, that was crazy. It was very... this is pretty ancient history, so I'm not trying to make a dig, but like remind me of the Fromm to Godwin at South Bend in 2017. Like it's like, okay, I think he's here.
Gotta bring that up, don't you? But anyways, no. I'm glad you brought up Gunnar Stockton, because last week I kind of went into our show saying we're going to learn a lot, and I think one of my main takeaways, I wrote it down here on my notepad, is that Gunnar Stockton can sling it, man, when he needs to. When Georgia's going to need to pick up yards and get that first down through the air, I mean, I think you have to be feeling much more confident than you were, 72 hours ago at this point with Gunnar Stockton. I mean, 23 of 31, 304 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns. He's the SEC Offensive Player in the week. I think that's a huge sign, and like Georgia's stock should be going up. It was just like a reminder this weekend that, yeah, if you don't land that kill shot on us, we're going to take this game, and that should be a very scary thing for the rest of the SEC and a lot of the country too, I feel like.
Yeah, I'd say so as well, and I think another thing that had been missing the first 2 weeks of the season that we saw on Saturday was that they picked up Josh McCray this offseason, the transfer from Illinois, who total hammer of a guy, like 6 foot, 235, completely
beast
out of the game plan the first 2 weeks. And what does he do? He plays the closer in overtime. Just some real nice physical runs from him. I was glad to see him finally get into the mix. So that gives Georgia, like, I don't know if they have a true star in that backfield, but they have 4 guys who can all do like various functions extremely well. And he really does the power stuff extremely well.
Yeah, and some of those other playmakers too for Georgia, I thought really came through. Branch was awesome. We highlighted him that might be a good spot for him to take advantage. He had a couple nice plays in that game on Saturday. As the Dogs come away with that OT victory, you got to be feeling good heading into that bye week. Alabama heading into the bye too, so both those teams going to be fresh, well rested for that showdown coming up in Week 5. But we still have a whole nother week to get through before we even get to that matchup. I feel like we kind of lived in like the same universe Saturday, John, but on like total opposite ends of the spectrum. It was like almost the same game between your Bulldogs in Tennessee and then my Fighting Irish and the Texas A&M Aggies, man. And my big takeaway, what did I learn this weekend, is that I drastically underestimated the drop-off from Al Golden to Chris Ash as the defensive coordinator for Notre Dame. I mean, the pass rush right now is completely non-existent. The tackling is horrendous. Notre Dame scored 40 points at home and could not get a win. In no world should that ever happen. It's terrible right now. And Marcus Freeman, I think, has got to be looking inside of his coaching staff and saying, okay, how do we fix this? Because Notre Dame's they're at the point now where they need external help for them to reach their ultimate goals this season. There is nothing about this defense outside of Leonard Moore that I feel good about right now. Mario Craver, KC Concepcion did whatever they wanted when they needed. Saturday night, Marcel Reed, yeah, he's a gamer, don't get me wrong. The dude can ball, but man, like, Notre Dame should have ended that game. And it's unfair to Tyler Buckner, who I texted you right as that happened. It's like, of course it comes down to this guy. And like, he unfairly is being named the scapegoat for this game. Yes, he botched the handling of the snap on that PAT, but Notre Dame gave up 41 points at home. And that's where I come back to on this. It's terrible. They're allowing 413 and a half yards per game right now through 2 games. Yes, they faced 2 very good football teams in Miami and Texas A&M. But last year, man, that's over 100 yards a game more than they allowed last year. With Al Golden running the defense, calling the defense. They allowed just 276 in 2023, 329 in 2022. So the drop off from Golden to Ash cannot be understated. It's looking like a really, really bad hiring right now and replacement and fill for Notre Dame up there in South Bend.
That can always be like this tricky thing that it's really hard to quantify going into a season. It's because you're just going to be like, well, we have a lot of talent because we're Notre Dame, and how much was it all really Golden, calling the shots and making everything work in concert nicely, or on the other end of it, like how badly can Chris Ash screw this up? And it feels like very badly. It's just 2 games. It's about as tough of a 2-game sample as you're going to get. I mean, it's a really hard way to start the season. I feel like Notre Dame always, kind of schedules up and has these gauntlets of a schedule. But boy, this one at home, you guys are about touchdown favorites. I didn't think that you were like that terrible against the run necessarily, but just the deep shots landing when they had to for A&M, I think is got to be like the most frustrating part when looking at this Notre Dame defensive performance, because Marcel Reed kind of had what looks like a triple option quarterback's stat line is concerned, like barely completing about 50% of his passes, but at like 10 yards per attempt. Just
all home runs.
When he's hitting them, it's landing, and it's landing in a huge way. And obviously guys like Craver and Concepcion can do a lot to help that as well. But very frustrating to just like feel like anytime that they throw up a 50-50, it feels more like a 70-30 when it's going up against the secondary right now.
Yeah, and here I was over the summer and in the preseason talking myself into, okay, so Chris Ash, yes, he had some bad runs here the past few years at Rutgers and all that kind of stuff, but when he was at Ohio State and he had all the talent, he was the co-defensive coordinator when the Buckeyes won the national championship, so maybe it's just a talent thing and he needs some nice pieces to work with. Thinking that he'd have those there in South Bend this year, but right now it just looks awful. The safety play has not been good either. They're desperately, I can't really say they're... Yes, they're missing Xavier Watts, really, in that secondary at the safety position. Obviously, he's moved on. He's gone. So you can't really just expect him to come back and replace that. But there's been nobody that's stepped up from that underclass into those starting roles this year. And, yeah, the defensive line of the pass rush, that was a problem against Miami, that they couldn't get consistent pressure on Beck, and then they couldn't get consistent pressure on Reed either. And, now the Irish are 0-2. So we'll put a pin in that. We're going to come back to that in a few minutes on where they go forward here. I got one other takeaway that I want to just mention off the top here, and this is just more than a question that I've been asking myself. Can we start to ask questions and worry about the LSU offense? Because yes, this defense is unbelievable, holding Florida to 10 points the other night, and that they're going to have time to figure this out. And as much as Brian Kelly doesn't want you to ask questions about his offense, he did apologize, by the way. We're recording this Monday afternoon. He has since apologized to the reporter who, I will say, phrased that question horribly. Obviously you're going to get jumped, obviously you're going to get a reaction when you ask a question like that. But, LSU's going to have to start scoring 30 points at some point. It could be in a couple of weeks against Ole Miss. You got A&M down the road, Bama obviously here. But at some point, Nussmeier, so they reveal he's been dealing with an injury here, a torso injury. But I'm starting to get a little worried about this LSU offense, that when they do get into these games, are they going to be able to get to 31 points if they need to? Because things just don't look right at the moment.
Exactly. It's so fascinating how just 2 weeks have passed and our perception, even though LSU hasn't really done anything wrong necessarily, the perception is different. Coming off of that win at Clemson, you're like, okay, these guys are legit. Their ability to kind of battle and kind of dominate in that second half, that says a lot about them. And, it's kind of wheels up from here. And we have another juggernaut in the SEC. It just really doesn't feel that way right now. And on paper, it doesn't make any sense. A Nussmeier injury is the only way to sort of explain it, because the receiving core is so nasty. We've been over it a million times, but both the Andersons, Xavier Thomas, Berrien Brown, you name it, they have dudes pretty much everywhere that they can roll in there. And I love their backfield with Durham and with Harlem Berry both. So it needs to start clicking. And yeah, you just wonder if Nuss is at 100%. Or not, and if he's not, how do you kind of protect him, adjust your offense to kind of make sure that doesn't get any worse? Because I've seen, or notably as a Georgia guy, JT Daniels, back in 2021, he had this oblique injury, and it was he's going to be bit, but it just kept lingering. And that's oblique. I mean, we're baseball guys too. That's when you're twisting and throwing. That's a hard injury to kind of push through. So this could be a serious issue for them. Who, when you also look at it with Nussmeier, they come out over fall camp. They're oh yeah, his knee also. He's got the knee of an 80-year-old man. Also, that's also not great.
No, that is not great at all. And he did throw a pretty bad interception in that game against Florida as well. He made some nice plays. I do want to point that out as well. Had a nice touchdown pass there, but that interception from Nussmeier that we saw, where he's rolling to his right and then he decides to throw all the way across his body, that's one of those mistakes that we saw from him a lot last year that he needs to take out of his game if LSU is to take that next step and be a true national championship contender. So just a couple questions I have about, a little concern about that offense. I think we're going to find out more and get those questions answered probably against Ole Miss, another Week 5 showdown. The SEC Week 5 slate, incredible. But we'll get to that next week. So we have a new segment we're going to debut on the show here coming up in a couple minutes. But John, you threw something in our rundown that I do think is worthy of pointing out. College Game Day has announced that they're going to Coral Gables this weekend for the Miami and Florida game. We have a couple other big ones around the country. Texas Tech at Utah, to name one, that has some people, including yourself, wondering, did the ESPN execs get this right? Are they going to the right campus on weekend? They are going to Coral Gables, by the way. I will point that out. First time ever that they're not going to Miami Gardens. They are going to Coral Gables. Oh,
interesting. That's a nice area. But I don't think that they got it right because Florida is 1-2, right? I just think that at this stage of the season, when you have what could be a de facto preview of the Big 12 championship between Texas Tech and Utah, or even Illinois versus Indiana, maybe you prefer some Big 10 stuff a little bit later in the season when it's cold, so you got the real football weather. I understand why it's not Oklahoma, Auburn, because Oklahoma's obviously been on game day already this year, but Texas Tech, Utah feels to me like it should have been the slam dunk, but I think ESPN is really kind of loving the idea of the U being back. So even with Florida kind of not holding up their end of the bargain. I'm not shocked that it ends up in Coral Gables, but I am disappointed nonetheless. I really would have loved to see it be Texas Tech, Utah.
Yeah, I think this is just an excuse to get down to South Florida at the end of September and enjoy it. So I can't hate on it too much. I mean, Miami, this definitely is another sign that, yeah, the U is back right now, and they are in control of the ACC, along with Florida State and Georgia Tech, who we'll talk about some more in a couple of minutes here. But I teased that we have a new segment that we're going to do. So I was thinking over the weekend, how can we really mold these recap shows into something that's really ours here. And, a lot of talk shows, podcasts, and so on have those generic, in or out or buy or sell segments. But, I was thinking we'll do something like that, but let's put our own spin on it, okay? And as I'm driving home from work the other night, angry about the Fighting Irish blowing that game to Texas A&M, the wheels are spinning. And, John, our show is called College Football Tailgate. Right? So we got to have a tailgate theme to this, okay? So instead of in or out, how about grill it or chill it? I'm going to give you a take. I'm going to give you a take. Are you going to throw it on the grill, crank it up, and cook that bad boy? Or are you going to put it back in the cooler and let that sit for a little bit longer, all right? So very corny, very cheesy, but I think it fits for us and what we do here on this show. So let's start things off. Let's bring it right back. Or no, let's start with Clemson. I think that's the way to go here. Clemson drops to 1-2 on the season. They just lost to Georgia Tech. Great call by you, Haynes King, the king of Atlanta, as Tech kicks that walk-off field goal on the fire drill, 24-21, the final, John. Clemson will still salvage their season and make the playoff. Grill it or chill it?
I'm chilling that because I think at once the ACC looks a lot better than we expected coming into the year, where we kind of thought it would just be a cakewalk for this Clemson team. Even after they lost to LSU, you're like, well, they're about to reel off 11 wins and it's all going to be fine. And no, the ACC looks better. I think that Louisville looks really good. I think obviously Miami and Florida State and Georgia Tech just beat them straight up. So I think that Clemson is officially in the danger zone. I don't think that they're going to be able to salvage this season, so I'm chilling on that one.
Yeah, I'm chilling it too. This is the kind of thing you pick up, you pull out of the cooler, and then you read the expiration date, and it's expired, and you're just like, oh, why did I pack this? Yeah, I'm chilling it. I am out on this team. I picked them to win the national championship, and hands up, got that wrong. I put the clown nose on because I feel horrible. Klubnik, pedestrian, again, another interception for him. They started slow again. They're down 13-0, it feels like, before you can blink in this game as well. So these slow starts have been a problem. And it's feeling like 2023 all over again, where this is just kind of a mess to begin the season. That year they were 2-2 at the end of September, 4-4 at the end of October. And I can see Clemson being in a very similar situation this year. You got the Florida State game coming up in a few weeks, at Louisville after that. So yeah, I am chilling that hardcore. I am a hard sell on the Tigers right now. All right, moving on. Another team. Let's start with LSU. Let's go to LSU here. Are you now, so since we just talked about Clemson, John, grill it or chill it, you're now looking at LSU much differently than you were 2 weeks ago.
I'm throwing that on the grill. I think that it's great that you had a defensive performance where you held Florida to 10 points, but I think once you get to 5 interceptions, that's sort of an indictment on the other team more than you just kind of being able to dominate. So I think that was kind of a Lagway masterclass or disaster class, however you want to put it. And yeah, this LSU offense didn't cook it up in week 2 necessarily, and needed those 5 interceptions to scratch out 20 points against Florida at home at night. So I'm feeling a little bit worse about LSU right now. And then you tack on the fact that just who we opened up with Clemson, it's like that win it is not aged well. That is aged like milk, basically, and we're past the expiration date on that one being impressive as well. So for me, I still think that this is a very good LSU team, but are they a top 5 team to me right now? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I think we might have to add a third category to this, like a thaw. This is something that's I got to just let this sit for a minute. I'm not really fully as invested with LSU as I was a couple of weeks ago. This defense is incredible. Do not get me wrong. They might have the best defense in the country. But the offense, we were just talking about some big-time concerns right now. I got to see this offense get going before I can fully buy in on LSU. And I think we'll learn a lot coming up in this Ole Miss game in a few weeks. And then I cannot wait for that Texas A&M and LSU game coming up here later on this season, too. And I think we'll get a real good idea around Halloween how we feel about LSU and whether or not they're a legit contender going forward. So, speaking of Texas A&M, they beat Notre Dame in South Bend Saturday night, 41-40. The final, the Irish dropped to 0-2. They are still ranked by the AP, which has a bunch of people with their panties in a bunch this week, that the Irish are ranked 24 right now. But, John, looking at this schedule for the Irish, Notre Dame will run the table and be a playoff contender despite their 0-2 start. Grill it or chill it?
Oh, I'm really having to think hard about this one, whether I'm throwing this on the grill or not. I'm going to say I'm grilling it. I don't see this schedule getting really that much more difficult. Like there's some teams that I give a lot of credit to and say that they're plucky. You know, I was really gassing up Arkansas last week. I love NC State with CJ Bailey and Hollywood Smothers. But those are two teams that I don't think are beating Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is going to get better from here on. And I think by the time that we're into November and the playoff rankings are starting to populate every single week, I feel like Notre Dame is going to fight their way back into the discussion. I think really the big toss-up game, the big opportunity that Notre Dame still has is going to be at home, which I think is huge, against USC on October 18th. They win that game, I think they got it from here. So they're going to have like this really good case as a 10-2 team that lost to A&M and to Miami, two teams that are probably also going to be in the college football playoff. It's still there for Notre Dame. Got to take care of business, though. I mean, much easier said than done, but I think it can be done.
Yeah, I'm grilling this. I'm a little hesitant to grill it, but yeah, like you said, that USC game is huge. I mean, the thing with the Irish right now and how this is, they need help from everybody else at this moment. They need USC to be undefeated, I feel like, going into that game when they meet in October, at the end of October. They need Miami to run the table in the ACC and at least get to the ACC championship game. And Texas A&M, I feel like they need the Aggies to be like at least like the third or fourth team in the SEC and have their foot in the door to get to the playoff as well, because if it comes down to it and Notre Dame is 10-2 and those two losses are to Miami and Texas A&M, and if those two teams are in the playoffs, Notre Dame just lost to them by a combined 4 points in those two games. So it is still there for the taking, but they need a lot of help. So that's like if you're grilling at the tailgate, you got to tap somebody else to come help you cook, because like you got too much going on right now to focus. Like you need some help here.
Yeah, the kebabs are going to get burned if you don't get some help here.
Exactly. Yeah, somebody's got to handle those buns pretty much, because like I got no space on the grill to toast your buns. Someone else has to go figure that out right now. All right, next one. Moving on. Grill it or chill it. Georgia is the team to beat in the SEC.
They are. I think that they have arguably the best SEC win so far, especially within conference play, having beaten Tennessee up there on the road. They've got kind of the ball in their court now, where they don't really have a whole lot of other difficult road games. Their big games are at home. Alabama, of course, in 2 weeks. You get Ole Miss the weekend of October 18th, and then you've got Texas in November. Georgia Tech will be a neutral site game to close out the season. So it feels like, this is a Georgia team that hasn't lost at home, I think, since before the pandemic. Like, it's been since 2019. Freaking yeah. Debo Samuel in that game, if I remember right. I might be mixing my years, but it's been a long time. Like, Jake Fromm stunk it up that game. That's how long it's been since Georgia lost at home. So them being able to go on the road like that with Gunnar Stockton, him just kind of getting that trial by fire and passing it, that was huge. I think that I think puts the rest of the SEC on notice. I was very kind of hesitant to crown Georgia in any way, shape, or form through the 2 weeks, even with the track record that they've had over the last couple of years. But after that Tennessee game, I think they are the team to beat. But that gets put to the test right away the next time they play.
Yeah, I'm grilling this too, and I'm cranking that up as well, because this is all because of Gunnar Stockton, by the way. I think he was excellent against Tennessee over the weekend. Yes, the Vols were missing their top two corners, but what we saw from Stockton was what we've been waiting to see with Georgia. If Georgia can take that next level with their offense that we've had questions about as well going into this season. But like I mentioned earlier on in the show, he was the SEC Offensive Player of the Week. That is a great sign for Kirby Smart and his team. So yeah, I am grilling that as well. All right, next up, Alabama beats Wisconsin 38-14 in Tuscaloosa this weekend. John, grill it or chill it? The Tide have figured things out and are rolling from here.
I'm grilling it, but it's like I've already turned off the flames, and we're doing residual heat, so we're grilling it, but kind of at a lower simmer, because Wisconsin unfortunately has just completely fallen by the wayside, and that Florida State game still leaves a certain taste in my mouth about this Alabama team. I will say this passing game, it looks like what our optimistic case of Alabama was going to be coming into the season, where it's like, okay, you got Ryan Grubb in there to call this passing game. You've got Ryan Williams. I think the steps forward that Jeremy Bernard has taken really adds a level of dangerousness to this Alabama passing attack. We still don't really know what's up with their run game.
Yeah,
that could still be an issue. So, I'm pumping the brakes there. I still am not totally convinced on their defense because they haven't really had a chance to prove it. They played, Louisiana, and they played a bad Wisconsin team. Your defense is still sus to me based on what happened in Tallahassee. But I think, at least as far as, Alabama being able to put up points, kind of a la maybe 2020, the Mac Jones season is a bridge too far of an expectation for what this passing game could look like, but it's going to look like similar to that era. I think we could at least say, and that of course makes Alabama very dangerous. So I'll grill it.
Yeah, I can't quite throw this one on the grill yet until I see more from that running game. I mean, we got to see Jam Miller come back. We got to see him get on the field and what that looks like before I can be all in on the Tide. Ty Simpson had a great day, 382 yards through the air. He was also their leading rusher with just 25 yards. So not that they didn't have to run the ball to beat Wisconsin over the weekend, but they're going to have to run the ball against Georgia coming up here in a few weeks. So I got to see that before I can fully buy back in on Alabama. Yeah, that taste from that FSU game is still kind of just lingering there. But I will say, good to see Ryan Williams back and healthy and looking good. Monster game over the weekend. 5 catches, 165 yards. All right, next up, you mentioned this game earlier as a potential location that College Game Day should have gone to this weekend. We got a big one in Salt Lake City at Rice-Eccles. Grill it or chill it. Texas Tech at Utah is a Big 12 championship game preview.
I'm grilling it, and I threw this in the rundown before I checked the Big 12 odds. They are basically the co-favorites right now, and no one is really all that close but behind them. So it does feel like maybe a little bit of a layup of a topic from your boy John here, but I think it is
easy cooking. It's easy cooking.
Yeah, I mean, just chuck that. You don't have to think too hard about it.
I pre-cooked this last night. You just got to warm it up on the grill. That's all you got to do.
Easy. It's been in the Pyrex. So yeah, I just this is going to be sick. Texas Tech's offense is unbelievable right now, and I think Utah they survived that kind of potential trap game against Wyoming. This is a huge matchup. I cannot wait for this game. I think that this is installment 1. I think we will see this again come December.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll throw this on the grill, too. I think this is a big weekend for the Damp boys coming up. Devon Dampier had a great weekend. He had a great game against Wyoming the other night. But this is going to be a big one here where I feel like he can get on the national scene, and everybody's going to be like, oh, okay, Utah's got an awesome quarterback. Yeah, let's take a look here. This game's going to say a lot about Texas Tech, and what they've been building, what Joey McGuire's got going on down there in Lubbock, because you don't just walk into Rice-Eccles and not get bloodied, basically. We're going to see what this Texas Tech team is made of on Saturday. The spread sitting at 3.5 right now is very interesting right now to me. Total sitting at 55 too is kind of interesting with the way these two offenses have been moving the ball. So I think we'll have some more opinions on this one on our Thursday preview show. But yeah, I'm grilling it. I just have too many questions about the other teams in the Big 12 right now. Kansas State, by the way, banned from this program. We are never, ever talking about them again when it comes to betting. Screw them. Avery Johnson, you have cost me brain cells watching you the other night. That was just absolutely mind-numbing watching Kansas State try to play offense against Arizona, which should not have been the case. But anyways, coming back to the other teams in the Big 12, Arizona State I still got questions about, looked much better against Texas State over the weekend. Baylor, don't trust that defense whatsoever. Iowa State kind of hanging around in there as too. I think they're the next best team after Utah and Texas Tech at this moment. But yeah, I think this is just round one between those two teams as well. All right, final one here, John. Grill it or chill it. John Mateer, Oklahoma's quarterback, will be the heavy Heisman favorite if Oklahoma beats Auburn on Saturday.
I am grilling this one. I kind of went back and forth on it that there hasn't really been anyone that pulled away just yet. You know, obviously Arch Manning like opening the season as the favorite, then it's Nussmeier. So we kind of have this cluster at like 8-1, 9-1. I think if Mateer gets this statement win against Auburn, especially after, you know, they kind of deftly just took care of business up at Temple, we were both a little bit concerned, like, hey, you know, Oklahoma's got this big game against Auburn coming up. Maybe they just kind of keep it in second gear against Temple. But nope, they went all out in that game, got it done, you know, an easy 40-point win there. You're at home against a good-looking Auburn team. I think this is the spot where, and I think Mateer is showing to be like just kind of Mr. Everything for this OU offense. So he does his dang thing this week. I think we start to see some separation where there's, you know, he's like 6-1 and the next closest guy is like 10-1.
So I'm actually going to chill this because I saw there was some movement today. Ben Fox of, I believe he's with Yahoo now, does a great job recapping everything gambling-wise, pointed out that on BetMGM, Carson Beck is actually the Heisman favorite right now. So depending on which sports book you use, there's a different, it's either Beck or Mateer at every different book. But I think Carson Beck, if he goes off against Florida on Saturday, I think he'll still be right there with John Mateer. I don't think Mateer is going to have that chance to make that big leap, if that makes sense, going on. So I just think still too early for Mateer to fully pull away, even though he's having an excellent season.
I think that's fair. And Beck, obviously, like, you know, I think he was what, like 20-1 to start the year, and he's obviously steamed
8 or 9
way up, and deservedly so. So yeah, I think that this could end up staying level, but I do think Mateer, just the way that he's able to do the dual threat, I think he could start to pull ahead. But yeah, probably too early. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, you know, it would be. I think it would be fun, though, if we have one of these seasons where it becomes like a two-guy quarterback race where you're checking to see what the other one did down the stretch here. And these two quarterbacks could set this up nicely for this to happen. If you're just, okay, what did Carson Beck do today? What did John Mateer do? And we're just constantly kind of checking them back and forth against each other because they kind of play very differently. Mateer's got that running ability that Beck doesn't really have a ton of here. So I think that could set up for a really fun little sub-storyline of the college football season down the stretch. All right. So, unless do you want to add anything to that? I shouldn't have cut you off there. I'm sorry.
No. I think you buttoned that up pretty perfectly. I'm down with it. I mean, if that ends up being the two-man race, I think that's a pretty electric one. I think they're both awesome stories, transfer guys that are, you know, at these programs that have been frustrated these last couple of years, and they're kind of making the coaches and the NIL folks at their respective programs look smart for ponying up for each of them.
So, speaking of frustrating, I think that might be the proper way to put how Texas Longhorns fans are feeling right now. Maybe even the team as well. Notice when we were talking about the Heisman there, we were not talking about Arch Manning whatsoever because Arch with another, I don't know, clunker, you want to put it? I guess, is that how we're going to put this? 11 of 25 with one touchdown, one interception against UTEP at home. That's not great, John. So Texas this season, they're 2-1. You got that loss to Ohio State back in week 1, but since then you kind of were a little sluggish to get going against San Jose State, and then you kind of were just stuck in the mud, really, against UTEP over the weekend. So I thought this would be a good time through three weeks to power rank the SEC teams, but instead of giving you all 1 through 16, power rank the SEC and stop when you get to Texas.
All right. Well, make sure you guys got a comfortable seat. It might be a little bit because I have
Get
my
cozy.
SEC. Yeah, exactly. I have my SEC power rankings as such right now. Give me UGA up top, having beaten Tennessee. I think that is the best win. I think that's fair to say. Alabama, eye test. I think we're starting to get there with them. I know that they have the loss, but looked real good again against Wisconsin these last couple of weeks. I'm trusting that this offense is going to be something that really carries them going forward. LSU is my number 3 team. Texas A&M, number 4. I know that this could be a little bit misconstrued, but I'm eye testing this one more than anything, and I do think that Bama, despite the loss, is my second best, and then LSU, Texas A&M. Tennessee right there. I think they look terrific as well. I think that they're a 10-win team. Ole Miss next up, but they play these exciting games, close against Arkansas, but Arkansas couldn't quite get it done. Impressive for them without Austin Simmons to be able to do that. So I have them at 6. Then I'll entertain the Texas idea, but I was real close on OU and Missouri over Texas actually as well. So I feel like I might almost be giving Texas too much credit at 7.
Yeah, I'm kind of right with you in the same spot. So I got Georgia at number 1. That was the most impressive win in the conference so far this season, beating Tennessee over the weekend. I have LSU at number 2. I'm still high on this defense. I think they're going to keep them in every single game. But yes, I do have questions about the offense going forward right now and that Nussmeier injury. But I'm putting the Tigers at number 2. They haven't done anything to fall below that. Number 3, I got Texas A&M. I thought that I was impressed with the Aggies' just will to win and their resolve and not giving in against Notre Dame when they had multiple chances to, with some special teams blunders, the blocked punt right off the beginning. So credit to Mike Elko. We said in the offseason, in the preseason, that this was going to be a very tough team to play against, and so far that's holding true. Number 4, I'll go Alabama. I feel a little bit better about them than I did against after that loss against Florida State, but Ty Simpson's looking much better here, looking better against these cupcake opponents than Arch Manning has for sure. So you got to feel better about Simpson right now. Still got some questions about that running game that will hopefully be answered in the next few weeks. Number 5, I'll put Tennessee. Impressive showing. Yes, they hung around. They nearly knocked off Georgia. But I'm a little higher on the Vols than I was going into the season. Aguilar's played really well so far. And then number 6, I'll go Ole Miss. They won that game against Arkansas. That was just a 12-round knockout, drag, out of the bar fight with their backup quarterback. So Uncle Lane got it going on. I mean, he's feeling good, doing the little basketball thing with the ref there. That was like nuts. I don't even know what was going on. But anyways, and then number 7, I'll go Texas, just because I know this team has a higher gear. We haven't seen it yet. I don't know, that the Red River shootout, man, that, I can't wait for that one. That's going to be very, very interesting this year. So yeah, I'll go Texas at 7 as well.
You do feel like, even though we both have them at 7, like I just mentioned, OU's right there, I think Mizzou's right there, but it's a 7 where I'm trusting what I've seen previously more than just kind of historically with what Sark has built there and defensively and all that, but the offense is really concerning me to this point. And I'm not gonna say that this smells a little bit like the DJ Uiagalelei story arc at Clemson, but I don't know. Smell is the strongest sense tied to your memory, and it smells a little bit like it. And I remember that.
Yeah, I'm looking at this game coming up. So Texas plays Sam Houston State this weekend. You got to put up some style points. And I know we've been saying this for a couple of weeks now, that Texas has to put up some style points, but really they do. I mean, just for this show alone, if they want to move up and stay in that 7 spot on these power rankings here on College Football Tailgate, you can't go have another dud or a clunker against Sam Houston State and let Oklahoma go and beat Auburn this weekend, because then, yeah, they will be falling down those rankings heading into week 4 there. And
lastly, we talked about how defensive Brian Kelly was earlier on in the show. Sark is getting a little spicy with
he?
I mean, the Texas media is definitely very hey, we were supposed to just be winning the national championship this year. We kind of look like crap. What's the deal? And they're really asking a lot of questions about Arch, and Sark is barking.
Absolutely. All right, let's keep it moving here, John. Time for Monday Cope, Monday Smoke. Take it away. Who's on the couch just questioning life right now?
Well, Tennessee's coping because, they were talking a lot of Yang going into last week, and I will say that one of their writers did my job for me. This was the best bit of cope that I think I've ever seen. to quote this writer. I'm not going to air them out, but I'm just quoting them. I think Kirby Smart's reaction to defeating Tennessee reveals that the Vols could be a dangerous team. Has he reacted like that in the past? So you're feeling better about yourself based on how excited your opponent's coach was to beat you. It sounds like you still lost the game, right? And that, I think, is the most important thing. So that's the Tennessee cope, I guess, is we're doing the Bill Simmons level body language analysis to really figure out how we should be feeling. So for better or for worse, that's the Tennessee cope this week. As far
all that's missing from that is like moral victory written in there somewhere. Like that's all that's missing from that headline.
Yeah, I mean, she might as well just have written moral victory 10 times, and it would have almost been less sad than that. I'm going to throw one to you in a moment, but Clemson, I don't know what your cope is really. Like I tried to think of a good spin zone, but you know we tried it out after the LSU game, and it's like, okay, you still have the whole season ahead of you. Now you kind of don't. So the ACC was supposed to be this cakewalk for you, and you don't have it. So I couldn't come up with anything copey enough for Clemson. And then for Florida, you did stay within 10 points at LSU despite throwing 5 interceptions. And also, hey, if the season goes bad enough, Billy's gone. What's John Gruden up to? There you go. There's your cope for Florida. And I do my dear co-host. What is the pulse of ND Nation right now? How are we feeling? How are we spinning this one?
So I love joining. So for those of you who don't know, John at John_tailgate on Twitter does a wonderful little Spaces activity on Twitter, usually to wrap up Saturday night, and we were having a great time on there this past weekend. I think one of your buddies that's also a big Notre Dame fan, I think bigger than me, I think he summed it up pretty well. Like, the pitchforks are just about out for Chris Ash at this moment in time. Like, the parallel that I'm getting, where you were talking about how, like, the smell test and DJ Uyunglele with the Texas and Clemson and those comparisons, I'm kind of getting like the Lincoln Riley, Alex Grinch feel right now from a couple years ago with USC. That's how bad Notre Dame's defense is right now. It's brutal. They can't generate any sort of a consistent pass rush. The tackling is horrible. Mario Craver still running as we speak on that play the other night. Oh my God. Everything outside of Leonard Moore on that defense right now is suspect. And that is not what should be the case. Like I said earlier, there is no planet where Notre Dame puts up 40 points at home should they lose that football game. And that's what happened over the weekend. So yeah, it's bad. It's not feeling great. Yes, they could run the table, rip off 10 straight wins, which I still think that they have a very good shot to. They'll be favored in every single game going forward here. But, man, there's big-time concerns about this defense. But I will say, actually, spin zone, I will say one thing that I forgot to mention that I do feel good about. I do feel really good about C.J. Carr going forward. I thought outside of that, just one really bad freshman-y type play where he tried a jump pass over his line and that ended up getting tipped and picked off. I thought the dude, he came to play again Saturday night, and he made some really nice throws, and I feel really good about him running the offense for the next couple of years.
Well, and I think additionally, and I swear this isn't underhanded, but we already figured out the problem too. He's not going to tip whether it's run or pass anymore because apparently he did that for every play on Saturday night, and you still hung 40 points on A&M despite them knowing what was coming. Imagine what it's going to be like when they don't know. Yeah.
Seriously, if Purdue doesn't know what's coming, I mean, they might just, give up 700 yards again like they did a year ago.
Well, yeah, that was crazy.
All right, so, yeah, one other final note that I will say about Clemson. I think the best way to sum up Clemson right now is that scene from Arrested Development where Tobias is sitting in the shower biting the washcloth in his blue jeans. That is Clemson right now. Like, that is the only way I can describe what's going on there in Clemson, South Carolina.
They are a bunch of never nudes up there, so this checks out.
Wouldn't surprise me. All right, Monday Smoke, you want to rip through a couple of these? Who do you got?
Yeah,
Who's feeling good?
Rip a couple of Monday Smokes. Georgia Tech. I mean, you feel amazing. You just beat
Absolutely.
Clemson. Like, this is just proof positive that Brent Key is going to be the guy to not only like bring Tech back to like that level of respectability that they were with like Paul Johnson in the middle part of last decade, but maybe there's even more here for this Georgia Tech program. Beating Clemson like that, knockdown, drag-out game, that's proof that this is a legit Georgia Tech team and a legit program. I think Vanderbilt, you kind of feel a little bit worse about it because Sellers obviously got hurt, but you were merciless out there, folks. Like, Vandy did not give a crap. Like, they were still like, yeah, we're gonna blow you out now. See you later. So they win that game by 3 touchdowns. Like, Vandy can go ahead and kind of be walking around like Conor McGregor. I'm certain that Diego Pavia is. Next up, Texas Tech. I know that maybe this game wasn't on everybody's radar, but you get an Oregon State team, and you're favored by a lot. It is like a power 4.5 team. Texas Tech just eviscerated them. Texas Tech now up to the number 4 rated offense in the country per S&P Plus. So that, I think, is a really legit statement that this is a super scary, super dangerous, effective Texas Tech offense. So guns up for them. And then lastly, I think Georgia feeling like Jason Voorhees a little bit. I know it's not Halloween season or Michael Meyer, but you can kill us and they're still not dead. I think that's scary. Like, and I know that feeling on the other side of it from thinking that you've killed Bama a million times and then they still find a way to come and beat you. That, I feel like Georgia has that same mental effect right now on some programs, Tennessee included.
Yeah, absolutely. I love those. And I will just throw prayers up for Oregon State, man. Like, you went and got your ass kicked in Texas Tech this past weekend. Now you have to go play Oregon. The Ducks are favored, I think, by 35 in that game, which that's an interesting spot, though, too, because they do have Penn State next week. So that's going to be 5 touchdowns is a lot. But as we've seen with Dan Lanning, I mean, he could just drop a 69 spot on you and call it a day.
Oh, yeah.
So, interesting spot. Speaking of betting, not great, John. We got to do some digging, some soul searching. I really cost us this week, but as a show, as a collective, 4-9, down almost 6 units. It was a brutal day. We were 21, 26, and 2 on the season. So, not great. We got to step that up. Some really tough spots again. But yeah, I'm not happy. Friday night really just put us on a bad start. We started off 0-3 and we were chasing the entire weekend.
Yep. I couldn't believe my Owls let us down. FAU.
I looked the last time I checked, they were up at halftime, and then I go and look at my slips, and I'm like, oh no.
So that stunk. If nothing else, though, I got Old Dominion right. I got Old Dominion so right.
You did.
Virginia Tech fired their dang coach.
You did. That was a good one. You got the Arkansas as well. That we got some nice movement on that one. Unfortunately, they just put up a gazillion points.
Yeah,
the defenses did not show up. Not a good underspot.
I should not have. Sometimes you can look at the numbers and everything. It's like, oh, it's pointing strongly to the under, and then it's like, well, it's also Arkansas and Ole Miss playing each other, so it's probably going to be an over anyway.
Yeah, that was tough. Texas State, we got 16.5. They ended up losing, I think, by 18, so we just missed on that one. They came back late, almost got us a backdoor cover there. And then shout out Oklahoma, by the way, going up there and taking care of business. I thought Temple would give them a little bit more trouble than they did, but the Sooners just wiped the floor with the Owls up there in Philly on Saturday afternoon. That was something. Something I did want to point out, though, and I will share my screen here, because I do think this is something to monitor. Let me just pull this up. So I pointed this out on Twitter the other day. These travel spots where you see teams crisscrossing multiple time zones were big-time spots to take points last year. And so far it's playing out again, right? A few of these notable travel spots this past weekend, Oregon was laying almost 28 points at Northwestern. They only won by 20. USC laying 21 and a hook. They don't cover. Minnesota goes to Cal as a favorite, loses outright. And then Boston College as a 2-touchdown favorite, loses to Stanford. So the home underdogs in these spots, nice, well-rested teams traveling across the country to go play them, went 4-0 against the spread. So I do think that's something to keep an eye on here going forward.
Where'd all my hair go?
Yeah, nice haircut, by the way. Looking good. Looking good.
Had to clean it up.
There you go. All right. So I did want to just point out there are a couple of these spots this week. UNLV has to go to Miami of Ohio. The Fighting Dan Mullins, as you so affectionately named them, laying 3.5 points. Michigan State flies out to USC. I grabbed this at 14. Unfortunately, I can't give it out as a show play because it's up to 17.5 now for Sparty out there in Southern California. Nevada flying across the country to play Western Kentucky. BYU at ECU. I am making this a best bet for this week. We are taking the Pirates plus 7.5 against BYU. I think this is going to be a tricky spot for the Cougars and their young quarterback.
Yar.
And then finally, we got Stanford heading out to Virginia. The Hoos favored by 15.5 at home. So just a couple spots to keep an eye on, and we'll see how those lines move throughout the week.
We may not quite return to the level of the Brennan Armstrong greatness from a couple of years ago, but Chandler Morris is playing good football for them. They've got some guys. I've got my eye on UVA, maybe eventually get like being ranked 25th for a week or something at some point this year.
Yeah, I would love if we could get that back down to like 14. Then I would think about jumping in on UVA there. But at the moment, I don't know. That might be too big of a number for them to cover, but definitely something to monitor going forward. Keep an eye on those travel spots, guys. All right, so I think that's going to do it for our Week 3 preview show. By the way, if you made it this far, please hit that like button, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, at College Football Tailgate on all these platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Tailgate. Our TikTok page, at CFB Tailgate. That's the name, at CFB Tailgate. Always a fun time over there in the comments. We got our Twitter as well, at CFB Tailgate 25. You can find me at Dan Watkins Radio, John at Johns_Tailgate. Drop us some follows here as we keep trying to build this show. So get through the week, guys. I mean, it's already almost here again. I mean, this is the beautiful part of this time of year, that football is just never too far away. So for John, I'm Dan. We'll talk to you guys later.